G'day guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Wildkard. Thank you for watching the Wildkard Rugby Show. Like, comment and subscribe. And yes, you are here today because it's Super Rugby quarterfinal. The only hope of Australian rugby has made it through to the semi-finals, and that is the Brumbies over the Highlanders, 32 points to 16. I was a little bit concerned for the Brumbies, to be honest, in the first half. The team looked a little bit lost. Really not quite sure what they were trying to work out. What's the angle? What's the advantage they're trying to pursue over the Highlanders? And yeah, and the Highlanders was just dominant. Extreme pressure in the scrummaging from Ethan de Groot and Ainsley. Jermaine Ainsley formerly played for the Wallabies. He's going overseas now. So there could be a chance that Joe Schmidt picks him as an international player. But yeah, just by the language, the way that he's being referred to, it doesn't seem like anybody is taking him as a potential Wallabies selection. But yeah, the scrums were brutal. Ethan de Groot, especially on that loose hair side, was very concerning because he's basically against the number one tight hair prop at the moment in the form of Alan Alatoa. I know you might say Tupou's the number one tight hair. I just think Tupou is always injured, man. That's the problem with Tupou. He always seems to be injured, and I just don't know that you know, I just don't know. He's just not that consistent compared to Alan Alatoa when it comes to being healthy. So for me, I think Alan Alatoa is the starting tight head prop, and to see him getting squeezed out again and again and again by Ethan de Groot collapsing and just getting the number done in him was really just, I don't know how I honestly don't know how the Wallabies is gonna function with a weak scrum. And Jermaine Ainsley as well on that, on the tight hair side, albeit Harry Vella, the prospect out of Naji College, is still quite young, but yeah, like the scrum was not pretty to watch for the Brumbies fans, to say the least. And outside of the first half, the second half, the Brumbies found a bit more groove. So the Brumbies, they always had a bit of had a strong emphasis on the kicking game, but unlike the successful kicking they deployed against the Hurricanes, which when they beat the Hurricanes, almost I think over a month ago at this point, where the Brumbies were targeting, to keeping the Hurricanes inside their own 22, targeting like that zone, and they were happy to keep the ball out of into the Hurricanes 22 and just get them to try to do a defensive exit, which I thought was really well done by the Brumbies because the Hurricanes exit wasn't good enough to keep themselves out of trouble. Today, it looked like every time the Brumbies try to kick the ball, they want to score from it. Yeah, so, and that led to a lot of missed opportunities, and it just looked a little bit impatient from my perspective. The best part about the kicking game from the Brumbies was truly, demonstrated by Andy Muirhead. He was Manchester United level of Cristiano Ronaldo level of soccer skills. There was a crossfield kick from Lolosio to him, and he just controlled the ball from going out with his foot only, and then he actually juked the player that was coming in to tackle him with his footwork with soccer skills. He actually dribbled the ball like a soccer player and beat the defender like a soccer player. It was quite amazing. Actually, probably the best football skills I've ever seen on a rugby field. And then he scooped the ball up, scoring a try. Was really that was just 10 out of 10. Really well done by Andy Muirhead. And outside of that, I thought, there was just probably too much kicking, and set piece was a bit of an issue. When it comes to lineouts, the Brumbies has always been quite good at disrupting the opposition lineout, and once again, number of mistakes were forced out against the Highlanders. So that has always been a positive for the Brumbies. And yeah, outside of that, Rob Valentini at the number 6 jersey, in the blindside flanker jersey. I was always wondering if Rob Valentini will make a good blindside flanker. There has been an emphasis, like a bit of trend nowadays, especially with Springboks, the way they play, to put a more of a lock at the blindside flanker position. But with the way Peter Toy functions, he almost functions as a number 8, just defensively really good. So I sort of see that Valentini had a potential there at the 6. But it was interesting to say the least to see him in that role. But anyway, so the Landers, again, outside of the scrummaging, really was a little bit, they were at least very clinical, I guess, in understanding what they wanted to do. They wanted to just kick penalties. They wanted to play on your part of the field and try to pressure for those breakdown opportunities to get turnovers, to get the penalties they wanted. But yeah, it just didn't really, outside of the scrum that was able to consistently yield them penalties, the Highlanders wasn't able to do so from any other parts of the game in a consistent manner. So yeah, wasn't able to execute that, and but it did take to the second half for the Brumbies to finally kind of pull the scoreboard away. And again, Brumbies, even in the second half where they were winning, you almost kind of feel like they don't really want to know if they want to kicking for the goals or if you wanted to just take the 3. And it was kind of just like just like you really wasn't sure what the emphasis was in the terms of their game plan. I think that the coaching staff really want to have to look into that a bit more, especially the scrummaging next week against the Blues, because the Blues are going to have a very simple game plan. They're going to keep the big forwards running at you. They're going to keep it tight. And then when all of your defenders are getting drawn in, they're going to spread it out wide and use their weapons, Mark Talea and, Caleb Clark to carve you open out wide. So it's a very simple strategy from the Blues and the Brumbies. Yeah, I'm not sure the way they played tonight it's going to be good enough, to be honest, against the Blues team. So yeah. Anyway, let's have a look at the stats. So the match stats: 360 run meters to the Highlanders, 150. Like I said, the Highlanders. So that's 211. Yeah, I didn't think that was right. 211, 388 to Highlanders, 211. It's just the Highlanders was heavily emphasized to try to get penalties. And I just didn't think that they had the right, this is a strategy they used to beat the Crusaders, but I just didn't think that it was deployed to the same effectiveness as they did against the Crusaders. 11 turnovers conceded against the Brumbies, 9 against the Highlanders, 135 tackles made against the Brumbies, only 9 missed tackles, which is really good. I thought there was surely more missed tackles than that. It was it was like one try with Highlanders scored. Who was it? What was his name? Nadeki. I thought for sure he missed. He ran through 3 defenders. That was 3 missed tackles on him alone. But hey, I guess if you don't make a tackle, it's not a tackle. Anyway, it's not a missed tackle. 109 tackles made for the Highlanders, 18 missed tackles, 31 kicks played against for the Brumbies. Like I said, plenty of a kicking and probably overextending on those kicks a bit too much. The Highlanders, a couple seasons ago, they used to be one of the highest kicking game. It has really toned down a lot. 22 kicks in play. And really, if they wanted to play that penalty goal style, I think the kicking games probably needs to be a bit better than this to try to be more, to try to get points out. A couple of goals missed by Lolosio and 100% for the Highlanders. Lineouts, 1 lineout loss out of 18 for the Brumbies, 5 lineouts lost out of 14 for the Highlanders, and there was not a single scrum for the Brumbies, but 8 scrums for the Highlanders, where Ethan de Groot enjoyed thoroughly eating up his opposition for breakfast. 13 penalties conceded for the Brumbies and 10 for the Highlanders. And I think if you take the scrum penalties, the Brumbies probably just under 10, so it's not too bad in terms of the penalties conceded outside of the scrum ones. Scrummaging. Let's do a little recap on this game. It took about a minute into the game before Ethan de Groot gets his feed on Alatoa and get a scrum penalty. Immediately, I was like, oh my god, this is not going to look good. And this is concerning for the Wallabies. 3 points to nil already on the board for the Highlanders. And the game settled down a bit more. 11 minutes into the game, another scrum penalty against the Brumbies. Again, the elbow downwards on the tight hair side, touching the ground. This was Ainsley on, what's his name? The young fella. On Harry Villa. And yeah, this is just pure experience. Like having elbow down when the scrum is going down. It's exactly what the referees look for the penalty. So the trick is just literally face plant. If you watch someone like Stephen Kitsoff, he knows he will put his elbow way above his head. So the first thing that touches the ground is his face, right? And if if anybody's gonna touch the ground, it's gonna be the opposition. Trying to prevent their face from hitting the ground, putting their elbows down. But really, just gotta make sure your elbow don't go to the ground. I know it's like tempting to not hit your face to the ground and get some get some mud on you, but it's just one of those things that, yeah, a more experienced prop would just will manage that a little better. It's something that it will come to him with time. And the 14 minutes into the game, Brumbies gets themselves a try on the board. I was a little bit concerned because there was, the Brumbies weren't really getting much headways, but Andy Muirhead was able to get himself through down the sideline. Some really nice hands between the Brumbies players. There was a nice little half break from Kale, and then the offload to Muirhead, who went in for the try. 7 points to 3. 20 minutes into the game, there was offside against the Brumbies. Highlanders kicked this one, 6 points to 7. 25 minutes into the game, another penalty against the Brumbies. Highlanders kicked another one, 9 points to 7. So despite Brumbies clearly having like the upper hand, and the Highlanders are actually kicking themselves ahead of the game. Yeah, so 33 minutes into the game, there was a penalty at the breakdown against the Highlanders, and Brumbies were like, oh my god, let's really try to get themselves back ahead. So they kicked the 3 points, but I guess that's something that the players needed to get themselves, into more of a positive mindset maybe. So a few minutes later, 34 minutes in the game, I really don't know what's going on. But anyway, a few minutes later, the Highlanders scores, and this was Narake, that's what we're talking about, down the side, and he shrugged off the defense from Rob Valentini. I think there was 2 other players that was on him. He still managed to pump himself through. 16 points to 10 for the Highlanders. Really, the Brumbies is trying to get themselves back into the game before the halftime, which is exactly what they did. So they had a penalty. They went for the line out. They went for their bread and butter. They went for the ball. The ball didn't work, and then the ball went out. Lonergan was tackled as well as he was trying to get the ball out, so it wasn't looking good. But Brumbies stabilized, just had the forwards pound the try line a little bit, had that bit of momentum going for him. And then eventually, Pollard picked and got himself over the try line and got the Brumbies just ahead before halftime, 17 points to 16. Second half, the Brumbies came out with a bit more urgency. Tua made a nice little break down the sideline, and then the Brumbies got about 5 minutes short. There was a penalty advantage. They went over the try line, was held up, and Rob Valentini took a quick tap. I guess it wasn't really a quick tap, it was a slow tap, but really, really quick for a forward, I guess. And then the Brumbies just kept pounding the try line. Eventually, they did get over again. Pollard pick and drive for the win. 24 points to 16. And then 47 minutes into the game, again, just nice pressure from the Brumbies. There was a penalty advantage about 40 meters out, and Loloseo called for the ball and then just went for a crossfield kick. And this is the, Manchester United future star Andy Muirhead on the wing, stopped the ball from going out with his foot, and then dribbled the ball across the front of the defender, and then just literally he dribbled the ball, beat the defender with his foot, with his soccer footwork, and then scooped up the ball, went in for the try. Absolutely freaking amazing. 29 points to 16, and then the game kind of really just stalled out a little bit. I think this just has been an issue for the Brumbies for a very long time. When they're ahead, they kind of just really don't have that. They really just can't. I think that their structure goes out the window a little bit. So for the last maybe I would say 20 minutes or so, the Brumbies were just trying to score a try from kicks, almost every kick, and there was just so many opportunities where they just keep kicking the ball down the field and try to chase and score the try, and then it just wasn't working. But they kept doing it. It was almost like they didn't think that they could lose the game anymore, and they were happy to just kick the ball away and try to go for these haymaker opportunities. But eventually, 63 minutes, another penalty again against the Highlanders. So Brumbies kicked this one, 32 points to 16, and that's pretty much it. They had another penalty around the 70th minute mark, and Loloseo missed that one. And there was just the Highlanders wasn't able to get themselves back into the game, especially when Ethan de Groot came off. The scrum just wasn't that dominant. The dominance just kind of evaporated, and then the Highlanders, without that strong kicking game, the game plan that they wanted to play, which is to force penalties and kick penalty goals, just wasn't gonna work. Especially against another team that's really good with the kicking game, relatively good with the kicking game. I wouldn't say really good with the kicking game. That team that's also have an emphasis with the kicking game, it just wasn't quite enough to get over the edge. So anyway, let me know your thoughts, guys. Like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, see you guys super later. I might have other videos coming out for the English Premiership if I can stay awake. But have a good one, guys. See you guys later. Cheers.